Welcome back to coverage here at Grand Prix Phoenix. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with William Huey Jensen, and it's time for the finals. Is it going to be Reid Duke, somebody who's been here many, many times in the top 8, and in fact having won 6 Grand Prix in his career, versus Sean Miller, the newcomer? This is his first time breaking through on the Magic scene. It'll be his first time playing at the Pro Tour. He's qualified for Pro Tour rivals of Ixalan in a few months' time. And this is the start that Reid Duke didn't see in his previous match, and he wants to see the turn 2 hammer skull. That is a handful, even for a red-white deck like what Sean's got here.
So interesting, Sean has 2 copies of Rallying Roar in his deck. An okay combat trick, but a really good card against Territorial Hammer Skull.
Because it untaps your creatures, doesn't it?
Right.
Wow, so you let the triggers resolve, fire it off, and get some very unexpected blocks. Now, I do want to know, does Reid know about those? Let me ask. I can ask our showrunner, Mark, to see if the players were provided deck lists. It's pretty standard that they do, but sometimes the judges will take precautions and kind of sequester the players so that they don't.
Yeah, the only reason I don't think they do is because in the previous rounds between games, nobody was referencing them.
It was fast, yeah. Okay. Another solid turn there from Reid. He adds 3 power to the board with the Raptor Companion, and also played Commune with Dinosaurs and found an Aerosaur, which he could cast next turn with a land drop. So this is a fairly explosive start. By the way, he has 2 copies of that card in hand as Sean Miller.
Yeah, 2 copies of Rallying Roar.
Right.
Sean opts to attack with Skyblade of the Legion here, which looks like, to me, he's trying to set up for a big double block Rallying Roar, because otherwise, you know, he could leave back 2 creatures. Reid would be forced to Territorial Hammer Skull, the Emissary of Sunrise, and Skyblade of Legion could do some blocking.
Well, you know what? Reid's not going to say no. He's going to say, all right, you want to take 5, buddy? No problem. He has that land drop also. Shining Aerosaur hits the battlefield. And this one's starting to get a little hot under the collar here for Sean Miller. Grip full of cards here for Sean. But after having faced down that Hammer Skull on turn 2, he's just been scrambling.
Yeah, he's been on the back foot, which always happens against Territorial Hammer Skull.
So this does get interesting here, though. Huey, you're right. No deck list for these players.
Yeah.
And Rallying Roar is a card that doesn't see a ton of play, and it could catch Reid off guard if Sean can set it up properly. Reid's going to go into the tank here.
Yeah.
He's got his not like this head going.
Hammer Skull doesn't look to have a great attack to me. Like it just gets free blocked by the 2/3 toughness creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And since Reid can't cast both of them, I mean, unless he has something like a Pounce.
Yeah. Yeah, Reid would have to tap down the first striker as well. So instead, he's just going to go ahead and attack with the Shining Aerosaur. But Sean's going to breathe a little bit of relief there. He's taking 3, not happy about it, but you know, this is where Reid could go, like, removal spell, attack you with everything, and just really drop the hammer on Sean. And that's not what happened here. He just played a land and passed. You thinking Bright Reprisal here?
It's possible, but it seems somewhat unlikely that Sean makes an attack.
Mm-hmm. Reid might have no other options.
It's possible. I think I saw the Awakening Sun's Avatar in his hand, so that's one card. He probably doesn't have that many.
Yeah, a couple turns away from casting that. Well, Skyblade of the Legion's going to be the attacker here. And Sean, I think he's got a Glorifier of Dusk to play here.
Yeah, and I mean, that'll brick wall the Aerosaur.
Yeah. So Sean doing a good job of using up his mana. You know, we talked about the curve from Reid Duke, but this has been a nice one from Sean as well. Look at that. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's hard to beat.
Yeah, it is.
No play here from Reid for that turn. So he's going to draw his card and see if he can't find some action.
if it's true that Reid has Awakening Sun's Avatar in his hand,
He can just set up.
He just needs to play 2 more land, and I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
kill all of Sean's creatures except for the Aerosaur, excuse me, the Armasaur. And on Reid's side, it'll kill Kinjali's Color, but who cares?
Oh, boy.
Who cares, right?
Seriously, who cares if he gets to stick that?
Yeah.
Also, you know, Reid doesn't know it, but that would be devastating for Sean.
Yeah.
Because of the 2 copies of that Roar in hand.
Right.
Just makes him look silly.
And I mean, Sean with the Queen's Commission, a blood-stained vampire. All these cards creating multiple creatures, but...
Yeah, he's got that Paladin. I think he's going to cast it, too.
Paladin of the Bloodstained.
That's right. Paladin of the Bloodstained plus a token, and he may be playing right into Reid's game plan here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Reid might only have the 1 card in hand. So...
He would need to draw a land off the top to cast it next turn.
Right.
He passes the turn back to Reid. Let's see if Reid finds it. Would he just slam it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Awakening Sun's Avatar, the big mythic rare from Reid. A turn early, no less. And look at what this does to the board. All dinosaurs for Duke outside of that Kinjali's Collar, which really, let's face it, should have got a pass, right?
It did its job.
That's a dinosaur friend, and that clears up lethal damage. Game 1 going to Reid Duke. And I'll tell you what, the lack of deck list pretty important here. You know, Sean was just like, well, here's all my stuff. You know, you're thinking, you don't think of too many sweepers in the format.
Because there aren't any really,
right.
Except for Awakening Sun's Avatar, and it's not something you're just, people don't even always put it in their deck.
Yeah, mythic rare as well, so you see it very infrequently. And a big smile there from Reid, but he knows that the business is not finished. He's still going to have to win a game out of the next 2 against Sean Miller if he is going to get that critical 7th Grand Prix win. It's hard to even imagine. I like the head-to-head that forms as well between Yuya Watanabe and Reid, since they're of similar age and similar point in their career. You know, we don't see Kai out at the GPs anymore. Of course, Shuhei does, but he doesn't travel as much as he used to.
No, but it's impossible to travel as much as he used to.
Yeah, it is. I don't no idea how he used to do that, but he was at every event I went. I'm just like, really, Shuhei, you're here too? But of course, he's still very much in the mix as well.
I think Martin's close too.
I think you're right. He could certainly join that club. Yeah. Looks like a tough sideboard decision here for Sean. You can tell he may be a little flustered after that Awakening Sun's Avatar. Things had really turned back in his favor there. He was trying to set up for some big attacks later with the Rallying Roars, and it just all fell apart on him in one fell swoop.
I actually think probably him competing in things like the Tetris World Championships has a fair amount of value.
Yeah.
I think just being involved in high-level competitions gives you experience for situations that some might consider high pressure. You just sort of learn to deal with cope with how to lose and how to come back and try to gather yourself. And so I think that's maybe an advantage that Sean has that a lot of players in their first Grand Prix finals, first Grand Prix top 8, going to their first Pro Tour, stuff like that might not have.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, I talked with Reid. I did a video with Reid where we went over his 2013 World Championship finals. And, you know, one of the things he told me, I asked him, I said, well, did you get nervous? Like, did you start to feel it at some point? And he said, look, I always feel it, but I've just learned to play through it. Like, it's not that it goes away for him. It's still there. It's just he knows how to ignore it, you know, the nerves and the tension that you can feel in a big pressure moment. All right, players have presented, and Sean Miller, though, going to be on the play this time, and he is playing red-white, one of the more aggressive color pairs in the format. So he could get off to a much better start against Reid, whose deck doesn't play defense super well, but he's got some stuff. Kind of just a bunch of bodies to block with, basically. And I think Reid's still thinking about whether he wants to keep. Is that what you're seeing?
Looks that way.
Mm-hmm. He's got a much better feel for what his opponent's up to as well. He knows he's on the draw here. He knows kind of the requirements for speed and risk that he's willing to take. And it looks like he decided that this one is not going to do it, and Reid's going to go ahead and take a mulligan here going down to 6. You got to love that T-shirt for Reid.
Yeah, I do like it a lot.
Sean looks pretty stoic. Like you said, that experience at other gaming certainly will translate over for him. Still, it's going to be hard for him not to be a little intimidated playing against Reid, who's been here so many times before. Do you think Sean's looking at him and being like, I wonder if this guy's any good at Tetris at all?
I doubt it. I'd be pretty confident that Sean would be a heavy favorite in Tetris against most of the people here.
Yeah, that's probably true. Okay, Reid's kept his 6.
His opening hand looks to have his 8-mana card, which...
It does, so it's sort of 5-ish.
Yeah.
But it also gives you the chance to come back in case Sean doesn't have a blistering start. Okay. Looks like no 1-drop from Reid this time if he's going to play a forest. Or I shouldn't say that. He does have Commune with Dinosaurs in his deck.
Yeah.
And there it is.
I think he balked for a second. I think sometimes you might have a hand where you don't even want to cast it on the first turn. You don't know if you're going to need a land, or maybe you want to fill a spot on the curve.
I see.
But ultimately, I can't really see Reid's hand like we discussed, but
yeah,
I think in general you kind of want to fire it off there and make sure you don't waste any mana.
Yeah, and he's going to be conservative here and just grab a land. He had different choices for Dinosaurs out of that pull.
Yeah, both his Hammer Skulls were there, I think. So he must be land light to not take one of those, because I see the plains. So he must just be content wanting to hit his land drops.
You know, he could already be thinking about that Awakening Sun's Avatar as a potential game plan here.
Definitely, and I mean, if he has a card like New Horizons in his hand, maybe he figures, well, I'm mulliganed. Well, guess what? I'm just going to do everything I can to cast this card, put this card on the stack. I don't feel like Sean's deck is particularly well equipped to beat it because of what happened in the previous game.
Yeah, he's right about that. There's Skyblade of the Legion, you know, a fine 2-drop, but it doesn't hit hard, only 1 power. And Sean's just going to go ahead and play out Emissary of Sunrise, and he didn't hit there. So
well, he has no more lands in his hand.
So in his mind,
in this instance, I think he was hoping for that.
Strangely, they were both hoping for that, I think.
Well, hard to say, but yeah, he had a copy of Queen's Commission in his hand, and
oh, look at that.
Yeah, he had a copy of Queen's Commission in his hand because you saw him reach for it for a second, but then he changed his mind and went to play the Emissary instead. Needed to hit a land and did. He has another of the premium uncommons of the format in his hand in Imperial Aerosaur, which it's a double whammy here for Reid because it's a flying threat, but it's also a dinosaur.
Indeed.
So, it could throw a wrench into the plan of try to invest all my resources from Reid's perspective into getting this Awakening Sun's Avatar onto the battlefield.
Yeah, he may need a Shining Aerosaur to help stem the bleeding for that. It is a great answer to it. He took 4 there. He was at 19. Well, a Sunrise Seeker's not the 5-drop that he really wanted here.
Well,
but he did hit a land off of it.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's good. He has Pounce in his hand, and I think eventually
he may need to just get rid of
that Aerosaur.
Yeah, that's true. Reid's life total falling pretty quickly here. And the 2 flyers are going to get in for an additional 4, dropping Reid down to 11. This could be a close one. This is going to be Glorifier of Dusk.
It makes things tough. I mean,
effectively another flyer.
Right.
Sean with tons of life total to spend on it. Looks like Reid may be flooding out a little, though. Got to figure that's kind of what he wanted.
In a sense, yes, but he needs to be able to play enough defense to survive, which, like we said before, is the problem of those types of cards. I'm sure
he drew a Pterodon Knight here.
That's pretty good. It at least can get in front of that Aerosaur.
Well, he's going to need to find a Dino, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right. What am I thinking?
Well, maybe he has something like a 2-drop.
I don't think so.
A companion or something like that.
Well, it's possible. It seems like something he might have played by now.
Yeah.
even just pouncing this Aerosaur to death.
Reid's going to attack with the 3-3 into the 4-4. Sean doesn't hesitate at all before saying no blocks. He's not risking that Glorifier of Dusk at all. Emperor's Vanguard is the play from Reid. So Reid, interestingly, has played out 2 creatures which would actually die to the Awakening Sun's Avatar if he were to get to that point, though it's starting to feel like it's going to be hard for him to do that. Is Reid just going to have to 2-for-1 himself to get that Imperial Aerosaur off the board?
Yeah, well, Sean is just drawn a Swashbuckling.
Oh, interesting.
Now the question is, if he casts it, what's he going to cast it on? Looks to me like the best target is probably Emissary of Sunrise, potentially Skyblade of the Legion, because it has evasion. I don't really think you need to make your 2 best threats better threats. Another option is...
Oh, this is an option.
Haste it up.
That's right. People sometimes forget about Swashbuckling. Giving haste, he could really power out a nice threat. The problem, of course, is that if he does put it on the Paladin, Reid has multiple creatures that could trade.
Right.
And certainly would. He's going to actually put it on the Vampire token, hedging his bets as much as possible and trying to spread out his threats.
Sure.
He's going to give his Glorifier of Dusk flying, but now Reid has complete information. As you can see, Sean is tapped out.
So
he could go for the old block and pounce here on something.
What Reid wants to do is do his best to live for 2 more turns.
Just completely scrap out any life total he can.
Right, but he also, if he can live while getting rid of the Imperial Aerosaur, that's also big.
What about the Glorifier of Dusk? Less of a problem because of the Awakening Sun's Avatar plan?
What I mean is live to cast that. I mean, if the only question is if he has enough time. Like theoretically, Reid can trade for the token, but he can only like trade the Sunrise Seeker for the token if he wants. He could pounce the Vanguard at one of the other creatures.
Yeah, at either the Dinosaur or the Glorifier. This is a tight spot here for Reid. He really has no wiggle room.
So we take 3 down to... If he does this and kills the Aerosaur, he'd take 5 down to 6, which means he would need to have 3 blockers on the next turn.
Yeah, so he's going to have to kill the Glorifier here. He's decided that keeping his life total as high as possible and taking out the 4-powered flyer is more important. He's still taking 4, though, in this transaction.
Yeah, so he's going to fall to 7, which means if he doesn't have a blocker, he's dead on the crackback, although he has a few cards in hand.
Well, let's see what he's got. Reid's trying desperately to get up to the mana needed.
What he really wants is an Imperial Aerosaur.
You mean a Shining Aerosaur?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Maybe even a Raptor Companion to pair with Pterodon Knight.
Look how well Shining Aerosaur matches up against this board. Okay, an Ixalan Archer is
wow, that's
pretty
a pretty
nice.
strong card. That represents an attacker and a way to remove a creature.
Wow.
But Reid didn't hit a land drop, so he's got to survive a couple more turns.
That means he's got spells in hand, but are they the ones that he needs? Because this is going to get pretty sticky. Even with that Ixalan Archer, removing an attacker and providing a good blocker for the Imperial Aerosaur. That's not going to stop Sean, though. He is just sending in the squad.
This is going to put Reid to 3, and if I'm not mistaken, Sean's going to be able to add 4 1/1 lifelink vampires to the board with 2 copies of Queen's Commission. So Reid's going to need a lot of blockers to survive the following turn from 3. He's only going to be left with 1 creature, and Sean's going to have 7 attackers.
So Reid's going to block to trade off for the Swashbuckled Vampire token. He's got another copy of Pounce, though, so that token's not going to trade. And Reid's actually only taking a single damage this turn, Huey.
Down to 6, so 1 blocker is all it's going to take to survive the following turn. He just needs to block the 2 3-power creatures and take 5 down to 1, assuming Sean doesn't draw anything. So Reid's going to need to play a land on this turn, a land and a blocker, and then draw another land in succession in order to play that Awakening Sun's Avatar.
Wow, this is about as close as they get.
There's one.
That's a plains off the top for Reid. He still needs a blocker.
He only has 2 cards. And he has to play that Pterodon Knight.
We know that.
Yeah.
But he is precariously alive here.
Yeah, but I mean, Sean with those 2 copies of Rallying Roar.
Oh, yeah. He has so many outs here to just take this game away from Reid right now and force a game 3. And it's a Rallying Roar right off the top of the library for Sean. That's exactly what he wanted to see. He turns everything sideways. And the way he did that, Reid has to think, uh-oh, he might have me here. And Sean just has to wait for Reid to declare blocks and say, Rallying Roar, everything I get gets +1/+1, and I get to untap them. And that's game number 2 going to Sean Miller. He was able to get ahead and stay ahead off of a reasonable, pretty slow draw there from Reid Duke. Ooh, baby. Game 3 incoming. That worked out really beautifully for Sean. The turn, he plays 2 copies of Queen's Commission and then draws Rallying Roar. It's about exactly how you drew it up.
Yep. That's how you go wide.
Indeed. Reid's list a little bit better at going tall. And once again, we're going to shuffle up, and it's all going to come down to one game here. A lot on the line for both players. Sean can win a Grand Prix in his first GP Top 8, take that trophy with him to the Pro Tour, $10,000 to the winner as well. On the other side of the table, Reid's playing for history here. He's looking to put himself not just on the Pantheon testing team, but in the Pantheon of the best GP players ever. 7 trophies. That's right, first place finishes for Reid if he's able to take this one down. Also the $10,000 still.
Yeah.
Reid's had a pretty nice run of late.
Oh, yeah.
Super solid finish at the World Championship.
5th place.
Yeah, just outside of the top 4 on tiebreakers. Turns out that pays a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like you think, oh, you got 5th, you didn't make top 4. It's like, no.
$10,000.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all for a couple of days' work. If he wins this GP here, it's another 10,000. And you know Reid, he's all about that trophy right there. He wants to get these wins. That's what he puts all this time in on. And Reid has the Kinjali's collar to kick things off.
Quick keep from Reid.
That is scary stuff from Sean Miller's perspective. We saw what happened in game number 1 when Reid had this. He played a Hammer Skull on turn 2. Does he have it? No. He's just got the Raptor Companion. So not really getting a big mana advantage there from the Kinjali's collar.
Sean draws his mountain. He did need that. If Reid is being observant, he'll notice that both of Sean's first 2 draw phases he drew, and he played a land directly off the top of his deck without shuffling his hand, put it into play. So given that he had a keepable hand, he probably has an above average number of lands out of his 9 cards right now, given that Reid can basically just see that his first 2 draw phases were both land.
Mm-hmm. And the assumption being that he wouldn't have kept a hand that had 1 land in it.
Or 0
like
or whatever.
All right, well, Emissary of Sunrise, a really good play for Sean here. He sees a Steadfast Armosaur. He's deciding if he wants to keep it. But even without it, that Emissary keeps back both of the Raptor Companions and is a real pain for Reid.
Yeah, sure is. The first strike very threatening. Reid's removal, like we've talked about, is 2 copies of Pounce. So he's going to need a 4 toughness creature with 2 or more power to even try to pounce that away. And probably, given that he played Pterodon Knight, no Shining Aerosaurs in Reid's hand. So
right,
that Emissary Sunrise is probably going to do some serious work holding these Raptor Companions on defense.
Mm-hmm. Full grip of cards here for Sean Miller as he decides what he wants to do. I know he has another copy of Emissary if he'd like to cast it.
He has Paladin of the Bloodstain, Swashbuckling, Unfriendly Fire, Plains.
It's a good hand.
Another Emissary.
He's actually just going to go ahead and attack with this Emissary. No great blocks for Duke. And Sean can replace it with another one or play a Paladin perhaps. Those are both good options on this board. Yeah, he's going to go for the Emissary again. And let's see if he hits with this one. He does. It's Queen's Commission. Boy, these Raptor Companions are not having a good day. About the only thing they're good for right now is getting that Pterodon Knight in the sky. And that's a rigging runner as well for Sean. So he's got 8 power of first strike somehow on the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, first strike is a really strong ability against 3/1s.
Definitely. So Reid may have to change gears here. Try to find a different way to win the game because it is not going to be off to a quick start and a beatdown. He's going to have to find something else.
He does have that Pterodon Knight with flying still.
Yeah, he can keep attacking with that, but boy, the ground game doesn't look good. That was a nice turn for Sean Miller, using up all 4 mana and putting out a total of 5 power, all with first strike. Reid's going to attack for 3 in the air.
Reid really needs an Aerosaur. I mean, that 4 toughness is so big on this board.
Seriously. Unlocks his pounces as well to be much more reasonable. Sean takes 3. Land go here from Duke.
And also, you know.
It's a forest, yeah. I'm right with you there, Huey. One of the things you'll start thinking about, because Reid's behind here on board by a little bit, and it's not getting better as Sean has a lot of spells in his hand, and you start thinking about that Awakening Sun's Avatar in conjunction with the Kinjali's Caller to help get Reid back into this. But he's quite a ways away now. Sean's going to continue to apply pressure.
Maybe a Bright Reprisal here. Nope.
Now we're going to see Paladin of the Bloodstained. Sean's making do with just 1 mountain, though. Just cast a white spell last turn and this turn, as well as a red one last time. And he's going to pass the turn back to Duke, who just has nothing. He just has nothing going on. Reid has continually been able to attack with the Pterodon Knight in the air. He's got Sean down to 14, but he's fallen further and further behind to do it.
Yeah, maybe even something like a New Horizons to just make that Pterodon Knight a 4/4 and hold some of this stuff at bay.
Yep.
Sean's getting pretty wide out there, and
and they're good creatures too.
Yeah, and I mean, Reid doesn't have particularly good blocks on almost anything.
No. No, his best block is trading off a Raptor Companion for a Paladin of the Bloodstained.
Right, that block is fine.
Yeah. And that's just a trade. All right, so now what's Reid up to here? Is he trying to set up a potential double block threat on some of these emissaries here with this Skyblade of the Legion?
Yeah, he might have to.
Risky biz.
It is. Double block's always risky.
But I think Reid realizes that he's fallen far enough behind now that he can't just keep on attacking in the air with that Pterodon Knight without really putting himself at risk of losing the race on the ground.
Right.
Sean has no fear, though. He's just going to attack with all 3 of his 3-powered creatures. And Reid's going to line up some big blocks. He needs to start getting these emissaries off the battlefield.
Yeah, so he'll trade Pterodon Knight for one of them, assuming Sean doesn't have anything.
Looks like Sean's deciding if he wants to use he has an Unfriendly Fire. Is that what we saw earlier, Huey?
Yep, he does.
Okay. So he could use that to break up this double block. It seems pretty tempting. Oh, I see. He's also got the Pyromancer there, so he's considering his options with that.
Right.
He could say, okay, fine, these ones trade off. Will he be able to do enough damage?
No.
No, he won't. So he may just want to use the Unfriendly Fire here and just get a 2-for-1. It's hard to imagine Reid coming back.
I think Reid has a pounce, so I think if Unfriendly Fire gets cast on Pterodon Knight, Reid will just pounce the Pterodon Knight at
the creature it's
blocking.
blocking.
Okay.
thus saving the other one.
Now, if he just resolves first strike damage.
Okay, he says that's okay, and I like that from Sean. That's smart. You know, Pounce is a card that he had seen before.
Yep.
He doesn't want to play into it.
Well, he could just resolve first strike damage
and then
cast it on the Raptor Companion, but
mm-hmm.
this way he just gets to kill the other Raptor Companion.
Yeah, and develop his board. Yeah, he took a more middling line here, but it looks like it's going to work out well for him, and it's going to force Reid to use that Pounce here, right?
It looked like he targeted.
Did he go upstairs?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Sean just brought Reid Duke down to 5 life here, not even bothering to take care of the board state.
Yeah, not particularly concerned with the 3-1, apparently.
I mean, you'd think he would be.
Well, it's not doing much. It does block the 3-2, though.
It blocks the 3-2.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it would probably have been precise to kill the...
Yeah, to kill the companion. That would have been sort of the standard play. But that being said, you can see why Sean is doing this. He's got Reid down apparently to 6. And remember, in his hand, he has unfriendly fire. So he probably figures, I can just go wide, ship in a big attack, and then finish you off with my burn spell.
Yeah, we're going to see swashbuckling on a token again. And
this is getting really tough for Reid Duke. He is super far behind now. He once again just passed the turn. No land drop.
Yeah.
You know, I keep thinking of Bright Reprisal, but it's clear he didn't have one before, so he would have had to have just drawn it.
Certainly possible. I mean, if he has his big dino, maybe 2 big dinos, he has a Spineback too, right? Thundering Spineback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he has any double white cards.
Well, here's that Pounce. So he's going to get a 2-for-1 here by taking out the Vampire that was going to get.
Yeah, 1.5 for 1.
That's right.
One issue is if Sean still just attacks with all these creatures, I can't imagine Reid would block in a way where he's not going to die to unfriendly fire next turn.
He's just going to say, I can't beat that anyway.
He's going to, like, in my opinion, if Sean attacks with everything, I don't know what Reid has in his hand, but the 3-1 is going to block the 3-2. The 0-3 is going to block the Rigging Runner. And the Skybladed Legion is going to eat the token, and he's going to take 3 from the Emissary. He's not just going to chump the Emissary, let the token through to stay at 5. There's just no way.
And here they goes. Sean Miller into the red zone. No fear against Reid Duke. He's going to line up 3 blocks, but this would have Reid falling down to 3 with Sean staring in his hand at unfriendly fire. If these are Reid's blocks, and these are really the reasonable blocks that Reid has at this point, then Sean just needs to say, okay, and fade 1 draw step. Really, there's not much Reid can do from this point either. He'd need to gain 2 life to not die to it on the spot. And that's a tall order. Reid draws his card for the turn. He hasn't done much in a few turns just to pounce. Oh, there's that Shining Aerosaur, but boy, is it too late. And we're going to see Sean Miller fire off unfriendly fire here. Bang! Fire it upstairs, and that's going to do it. Sean Miller is your champion. He is the king of Phoenix here. He flew over apparently from California. I'll confirm that with him, but he is your winner. Fantastic stuff from Sean, really having to face one of the best in the business, Reid Duke. And calmly and coolly, he worked his way through that match, and he got there. There you go, Sean. That is all yours, buddy. Congratulations. He gets $10,000. He gets the trophy, and he is your champion. That's Sean Miller. Congratulations. Also, of course, congratulations to Reid Duke for yet another awesome finish here. You know, he didn't get the trophy like he would have wanted, but that's tournament magic for you, and he's still got to be proud of yet another super solid finish, a lot of pro points, and a lot more to build on as we work our way through the season here as well. What stands out to you from the match there?
You know, I think those Raptor Companions were really weak in the matchup. I think it showed. I think the way that game ended up playing out, they almost just weren't cards. You know, it was almost like Reid ripped up 2 of his cards and threw them in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Sean's deck was really good against them. A lot of 1/1s, a lot of first strike.
Queen's commissions.
I think in the second game you really saw, you know, these white-green decks without a lot of removal. you know, twice I think in that game, Reid had to play a pounce where he lost his own creature in addition to the creature he killed, and that's a big weakness if you're not able to find cards like Ixalan's Binding and Pious Interdiction in the draft. And you know, it ended up costing Reid. Not that he should have done anything differently, but you know, it's sort of what you get yourself into. Sometimes when you play a deck like maybe white-green or white-blue or blue-green.
Yeah, we saw that in the draft. For those of you that missed it, Reid actually started out in red in the draft. He opened up Repeating Barrage, and he actually picked a couple of red cards following that, but started to veer into white, which is a normal two-color combo,
Sure.
the red and the white. But then the green seemed open to him, so he moved into that and ended up abandoning red. But, you know, after having done that, he just didn't see that much in the way of hard removal. It was really those pounces and that kind of thing. And his deck, you know, it had the strength of having kind of a beginning to end. I mean, he had a 1-drop in his deck and an 8-drop in his deck, right?
Yep.
He could go all the way up, but at the same time, you know, sometimes that doesn't work out for you, right? You know, you need to kind of hit the things you need to hit at the right time because he didn't have a lot of flexibility as far as the play went. So, all right, we're going to take just 1 minute, and we're going to get Sean in here for his winner interview. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the booth here at Grand Prix Phoenix. Sean, congratulations. You're our champion.
Thank you.
Had to defeat Reid Duke, one of the tougher players in the field. What was it like sitting down across from Reid?
It was tough.
Yeah.
Very, very close matches.
Yeah.
And,
each game was close. That's true.
Game one, he dropped the 0-3 and just proceeded to play on curve dinosaurs a turn sooner, and I was trying to fight back, and then he played the bomb and wiped the board, and it's like, you know, I really thought that game was going to go somewhere, but so I was a little nervous after game one, but I just thought, you know, let the deck do its thing, and I was able to come back.
What was the deck's thing? It was a primarily aggressive deck, or
the deck, the theme of the deck was it started out with vampires, and I got a couple of those make two lifelink tokens. Got a couple of those. Got a couple of the 3/2 that makes a body. And then later in pack 3, I think I picked up one in pack 2, the pump the team and untap.
Yeah,
I was able to get 2 of those.
Yeah.
So by the time it was third pack, I knew I was going to try to go. I kind of started going wide in pack 1, but by pack 3, the pieces came together.
Yeah, you really had a very go-wide deck. And, you know, we have to say we noticed that you had the 2 copies of Rallying Roar in your deck. And, you know, Reid was playing 2 Territorial Hammer Skulls. So, you know, there was some wiggle room for you to kind of get him there, you know?
Yeah.
That is a beating. I don't think people think about that when they run the Hammer Skulls in. They're just like, yeah, tap those things down. How much are you taking? And you're like, but wait.
Right.
And you can get them.
Yeah.
Well, this is your first GP Top 8?
First GP Top 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now you just ran it through and won it, and you've qualified for the Pro Tour. That's got to mean a lot to you.
It means a lot. I've been trying for a little while and kind of took a break, not going to as many GPs. And my friends told me to start playing online, and it's helped my game a lot.
Isn't it help? I did the same thing years ago. You start playing online, you get so much repetitions in, it can really help.
I think it's made all the difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask you about this, Sean. Tetris?
Yeah, just last week I was in Portland, and I got 13th at the Classic Tetris World Championship.
How cool is that?
It's coming back.
That's really cool. Now, I have to ask you, did that experience help you out at all in the top 8? Like, is that a high-level competitive thing that you get, you know, kind of amped up for?
So I've been practicing Tetris for a year, so kind of balanced Magic and Tetris and schoolwork and just life in general, you know. But
yeah,
the Tetris, I put a lot of training into it, like the last 3 months getting ready for it. And just that mindset, getting ready for the competition. I went up against, top level competition. The
best Tetris players?
The best Tetris player. The person who won it, he beat me in second round. And so it was a learning experience. But I was on camera for that for a little bit. And I think it really helped me with this tournament. Yeah. I was in the right mindset.
Well, congratulations, Sean. A
Thank
fantastic win. And like I said, we didn't make it easy for you. You had to beat Reid Duke to get it done here in the finals. But you get the $10,000, you get the trophy, and
Thank you.
We're going to see you at the Pro Tour as well. So congratulations to him. For us, though, of course, that means that it is time for us to say goodbye. Thank you so much for hanging out with us throughout the course of the weekend. We had a good time bringing you Ixalan Limited here from Phoenix. So from everybody here at the event, all the judges and staff that make these things possible, for the rest of the coverage team, William Huey Jensen, Paulo Vitor Damarosa, and Brian David Marshall, I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. We'll see you next weekend at the Pro Tour from Albuquerque. See you then.